CSTIC Perú estuvo presente en el evento Oracle Digital Transformation Day. A continuación, un compacto de la exposición.
I'm very excited. It's an honor and it's a pleasure to be here. Before we start my first time to Peru, I came in Sunday so I could experience Lima, and your city is beautiful. Barranco and Miraflores and the Center Historical is fantastic. I can't wait to be finished so I can go see some more and have a nice day with all of you. This is as a conversation, so that it's perhaps more interesting for all of us, because there is this idea of the digital transformation that we just heard Luisa so eloquently speak about. And at Oracle, we have 70 million people around the world every day that get onto the cloud and use Oracle in one fashion or another. There's $33 billion worth of transactions that occur every day through these systems. So this idea of a digital transformation, as Luisa said, is very real. But it is not just the province of the millennials, right? For disruption, for a transformation to occur out of a disruption, you need two things. You need a change in technology, and more importantly, you need a change in behavior. And so I thought I would take advantage of the fact that South America has such a rich tradition of sailing. South Americans have won 5 gold medals in the Olympics. I think they're looking for one next year. And I would share a story of the America's Cup. As you can see here, that's something that we care about as well. The America's Cup actually represents a digital transformation. In 1851 was the first time that the Europeans allowed the Americans, north or south, to come and compete for this race. And the boat that the Americas sent took a transformation. It changed the shape of the boat. Normally the front of the boat was like the head of a fish, it was very wide, and then they made it very narrow. So there was a technology change. But the behavior change that became so important was that they sailed a different route. They went in a non-traditional fashion. And at the end of the message that Luisa shared, right, close to half the population here is on the internet every day. And when they're on, we saw the raise of hands, they're using social media, right? Mobile subscriptions for all of Latin America are the highest here, with 77% of everybody having at least one of these, right? And sometimes 2, and sometimes 3. I know that now that I have the bigger phone, I've given up my tablet. It's just a bigger phone for me. The idea that social and mobile are linked, and the penetration now is that 1 out of 4 of us immediately comments in social about an experience. So obviously, in a B2C sense, all of us as consumers, the power that Luisa was talking about that we have is evident. But let's take a look too in these numbers on the business side, right? I think this is most interesting that in Peru, right, the utilization of cloud computing has gone up each of the last 3 years. If we look in pretty dramatic jumps, right? From 25% just 2 years ago to over 40% now. The investment in Peru will be 200 million in cloud this year, right? The people in Peru that work in information services have been surveyed in a number of different fashions, and 94% say they already have some knowledge of the cloud. So the people are ready to make the move. If we look at large and small corporations both, over half are planning to deploy mission-critical applications in the cloud. This is a huge transformation. And I think the key here is that the average growth rest of the world outside of Peru in utilizing the cloud is only 25%. So Peru may have started slowly, but now it's moving faster than the rest of the world, which is really important. When you read in the analysts or when you hear outside speakers come in, is the idea, first of all, that there's the aggregators. We all know about ordering a taxi different, Uber or Big Taxi, right? They don't own taxis and they don't have drivers. They aggregate demand and have delivered a new service. But it's not just in the taxi business, right? Today, there are banks that are coming online in South America, moving from Brazil into Peru and others that are completely online, right? That are taking all their investments and then there's no physical stores anymore, or banks, branches. There's the idea of the facilitators. And what I mean by facilitators are those that will help us because of our online behavior and actually do something. Somebody like TripIt that might put together your trip, your car, your hotel, and your plane. But I think if you were to look in, again, just over in Brazil, you could see Guia Bolsa, right? Which looks at all of us, determines our spending habits, and helps us create a budget for ourselves. There's the idea of concierge services, right? For me, concierge services provide insight about everything that I'm doing and best advice, whether it's in services, whether it's in questions, or whether it's even a company like Get Ninjas. And all they do is contract to go out and get you customers. Lastly, we say anticipating agents, anticipatory agents. Realistically, everyone, this is voice, right? This change in systems is coming that you will be talking to things, to your vehicle, to your house, to your car, right? To everything you might talk to. Google and Siri bring you an answer today. Tomorrow, they're going to be bringing you insight in response to a voice question. This is where the case for change happens. And so inside of our businesses, and my answer is, it's all over the board. Starting very small, perhaps with a single function, or a single process even. Maybe something like workforce planning, if you were thinking about human capital management, or HCM. Perhaps you would start with a business function, like recruiting, not just planning. A bigger transformation still might be an end-to-end, sort of a recruit to retire, right? And the largest transformations tend to be complete. I'm going to redo my HCM and my ERP. Any one of these starting points is valid. Every company and every business starts where it's appropriate. Oracle has chosen the path to work with everyone in very large or very small, but no longer is it only the very large. It might often be the very small. Success, then, for all of you in the cloud is measured differently, right? It's not just the acquisition of a new customer, but it's about the renewal of that customer. It's broad adoption, right? It's delighted subscribers and users. It's all of us who comment on social, hey, this is cool, or I like this company, or I suggest you buy this. I like to explain that the idea that keeping pace with change is extremely important, and I think was one of the original drivers of the cloud, right? As all of the digital privacy laws keep changing, and ERP systems have to change, and HR systems have to change, and customer experience, my area, has to change. We bring out in the cloud, and you can consume every 90 days, right, this evolution. Medium and large are at a different point in the revolution. We've made our 600 plus cloud applications modular. You can do 1, 2, 3, you can do everything. But it goes by functional area. The idea that mobile first is the only way that the millennials and beyond are going to talk on a routine basis, this is the expectation. Almost all of us get no training to use this device. That's the way your applications in the cloud are going to be going forward. Even when we come to this idea that I'm going to combine on-premise and in the cloud, Oracle's taking the extra step to say, okay, if that's the case, then we'll think about a common data model. We'll think about a common security model, and we'll make sure it works across both sides, on-premise and cloud. From this portfolio, we start to think about what areas are ready. In 2013, right, less than 20% of the CFOs said they were going to use the cloud. Today, over 53% of the CFOs in this market use the cloud. So what are they finding? They're finding that traditionally it took too long to build and deliver systems, and now if I go to the cloud, I get to take advantage of innovation and changing regulation very quickly, right? So the question is, if the CFO is ready, why? What else in the business? I would suggest that things like your foundation, your bedrock systems, your enterprise resource planning or ERP, right? While it might be traditional and on-premise, tomorrow and in the future, There's all sorts of other disruptors and transformations coming in the area of hyper-growth with initial public offerings. In the area, I've got subsidiaries and I have two-tier systems. Right? In Peru, we're seeing customers like Tamina and Tama doing actual enterprise performance management into the cloud. Right? This is the direction they're headed. We can look and we can see that in the engineering and construction world, right? Human capital management moving to the cloud. We can look at things like insurance, financial services, and higher education. And Peru is leading the way with customer experience, often referred to as CX, customer experience. So there is a big transformation. Everybody is ready for it here. And the cloud is taking over Latin America, and we're going there with you. It's all segments. Now let's talk about one of the interesting topics that we all have. The most important asset of our corporations is the people. It's the human capital side of things, right? In the old world, in the world I grew up in, I was one of the old people, it was about tracking applications. It was about submitting resumes and tracking them and building a big database. Well, that's no longer the problem today, because every day across the Americas, in fact across the globe, 19,000 people retire. 19,000 people leave the workforce when they hit age 65. Obviously in some countries it's younger, but they leave the workforce. So there's not 19,000 people entering the workforce for 25 years, right? Is to bring service much, much closer to sales. To bring sales much closer to marketing, right? To come and to say, I might have a customer that's at a website doing commerce and I want to jump right to service and bring two new areas very close together. In the B2B or business to business scenario, it might be taking my system that does configure, price, and quote, CPQ, very close to my service system. Because we've all had that experience when it doesn't work. When I've done something online and I get to the service department and they don't match up, there's a problem. All of this can be transformed with a single experience. And I will be the first to tell you that this is not going to be 100% Oracle. You're going to have lots of different solutions working together. So at Oracle, we believe we have to help make them work together better. Heck, you pay salespeople and marketers to be different. You'll have different systems. We're in the business of bringing different systems together to create a better customer experience. I said that it all starts with data. So you're going to be hearing more about data as a service, right? There's all sorts of data. This will be what lets you connect your customers with what you think they do, what they say they do, and what they actually do, right? This is really kind of cool. This lets you take insights out of unstructured data, like social data, and combine it with your corporation's business data. This lets you take the Internet of Things data and combine it with social, and combine it with your company. In fact, this whole category is being called DaaS, Data as a Service. We're all going to be hearing more about it. This is powering most of the transformation work that we're seeing in companies large and small. Okay, so I get it. I've got to be a modern HCM person. I've got to be a modern marketing person. I've got to be a modern customer experience person. I've got to have data as a service. Yikes, what's next? The answer is probably platform as a service. There's all sorts of areas, so let me just call them out, right? Enterprise management, content and collaboration, business analytics, integration, mobile, application development, and data management itself. All of these wonderfully interesting new business models are saying, rather than build all this, I'm just going to take platform as a service. So we're going to have sessions today to talk to you around PaaS, platform as a service. Very, very important. This is another domain Oracle's looked at, and the early cases, the use cases for moving to PaaS are both in the area of IT operations and in development. This idea of disruptive behavior and disruptive technology coming together to make a digital transformation, right, is not new in many senses, and it's not speedy, right? It took years and years and years for these boats to progress to the current racers. It's going to take a long time to get fully up to the cloud, and we may never go fully to the cloud. In light of this, Oracle has recognized that it's important that your best-of-breed cloud solutions are built on standards, They run on a platform that's designed for coexistence of Oracle and non-Oracle, of on-premise and in the cloud, right? And we are a class by ourselves for doing this in an end-to-end basis, right? We've designed for coexistence, so that makes us extremely unique. If we look at this, finally, I'd like to say again, it took a while for those new boats to become the racers of today, and your journey will take time. I want to thank all of our customers in the room today, actually, right, for partnering with us, for letting us listen, right, and to work with you on feedback, because as I said earlier, 500 new features across 600 applications come out every 90 days. Right? It's an amazing journey we've been on. And we've even implemented new programs for all of you who have Oracle on-premise and you want to migrate it up to the cloud. And it's the cloud, customer to cloud program. So please talk to us about that today. I want to thank all of our partners who are here, who not only have sponsored this event, but also their effect is transformational. Their full knowledge of an application, of the cloud, of on-premise, and your business is what really accelerates this. And lastly, a call to action for just everybody in the room. After the morning sessions, we have breakouts and tracks. You know, listen to the track and then go get someone from Oracle and grab them and ask them, right, to get a point of view presentation, to get a point of view on your business about where you can be hybrid, about where you might be cloud, about where you might start small. But, you know, as Luisa said to start, the worst decision is to do nothing. So from a single application to a transformational experience, please take advantage of the rest of today, and I look forward to seeing all of you in the sessions this afternoon, especially customer experience. Thanks, you guys.